welcome back to Rapid Fire Insights. I'm your host, Dave McCall, here with my co-host, Chris Hanna.
Hello.
And today we are thrilled to have Adam Castle. Adam is the Director of Venture Services at WETech Alliance. WETech Alliance is a very cool organization. It deals with tech startups, and they just really get into there with the tech companies. They offer funding, they offer mentoring, they offer support. They're
They have
just
events.
they have events. They just do an all around thing with them.
I think it's amazing, just like the level of support that they provide to those within the region, within Windsor, Essex. I've gone to some of their events as well, and just like the energy that you see from them, and then just the vibe that they have and the resources that they're providing back is really important in terms of just helping grow this economy. So I think I'd be really excited to hear from Adam here today.
Well, let's bring him on. Hello, Adam.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thank you for being here. Quick question. What inspired WETech, and what specific challenges does it deal with in the in the tech startup ecosystem?
Yeah, so WETech Alliance is a not-for-profit that's been around for 12 years. We actually started as an organization called Soft Tech. And so it came out of the University of Windsor, and a number of local tech institutions came together to sort of provide a voice, right, for technology businesses in the city. That evolved. So in 2000 and I'm going to get the date wrong, but essentially 12 years ago, what happened was the province had a call out for regional innovation centers. It was a new sort of theory that we were going to put together this network across the province of organizations that would all work on sort of a similar problem, right? How do we help companies to innovate? How do we help them grow? And how do we help them scale? And so WETech is one of 17 of these organizations across Ontario. And it really came out of that idea. We want to be an economic development arm here. We want to focus very specifically in on those types of businesses that have that ability to scale and innovate.
So how did you get started with it? I'm curious always on the origin story here.
Yeah, so I've been at WETech for 7 years now. Prior to that, I was at Invest Windsor Essex in economic development. Economic development is my second career. My first was in the helping fields. I was a social worker by trade, and then kind of fell back into my roots as an entrepreneur. So started my first company when I was 15. It was an early sort of social media a competitor right before Facebook hit, and that's actually what took us out. But essentially, what sort of inspired me to make the move was the idea that startups move so much faster than traditional businesses. And so at ECDev, I was working with really large manufacturers, growers, and folks in the greenhouse space. And when I worked with startups and small businesses, I noticed how much quicker that fruit came on the tree as you start to help them out. And so working in the startup space, it's been sort of an incredible journey. I've had the opportunity to work with well over 300 companies in that time now. And yeah, I just kind of fell in love with the idea that you can help these companies do so much and accomplish so much in such a short amount of time.
Well, Adam, can you share with us a success story so that we can kind of get a feel for, what you do and the results?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the most sort of topical examples of that is the team at Cedar Valley. So there's a lot of organizations in our region that work with businesses that are trying to scale. And so Cedar Valley has done a phenomenal job kind of leveraging all of them. So they've been to Small Business Center. That's how they got their start, was in the summer company program. They leveraged Epicenter for a number of their programs as well here at the University of Windsor. And then they went through the WETech Scale Up program as they were starting to try and kind of find a footing in how they were going to enter this much larger market. And so in their time working with us, we were able to find them contract manufacturers in the GTA so they could start making their pita chips, which are now kind of their main sort of product that they've moved off the lines. And then we've helped them look at how do you start to adopt your own factory? How do you adopt technologies you're able to sort of increase your capacity? And so from Scale Up, they went through a number of years, and then we brought them back for a program that we have called Idea Fund. And so Idea Fund focuses in on developing green and sustainable technologies. And what they did was they applied to us for a brand new sort of automated type of machine that would help them scale that much quicker. And so fast forward to today, where just last week or 2 weeks ago, they were given $1 million by Arlene Dickinson from the Dragon's Den.
I saw that.
So
that was
this
fantastic.
So exciting, right? But this is really, it's a family company. It started with Amin and his mother, sort of out of their house, selling chips and pita chips and dressings out of his locker. And from there, it's just kind of continued to snowball. And so every step of the way, not just WeTech Alliance, but organizations in this community that help with businesses, we're there to support. And so WeTech really helps on that scale side of things, but there's lots of folks kind of every step along your journey that's there to help as well.
Now,
So when
I
you
know. Oh, go ahead,
go
Chris.
ahead, Dave.
Oh, sure. When I was watching about the chip company, they went in for $250,000 for 5%, and then Arlene bought it for 20% for the $1 million, which I'm sure was a real shock to them. Funding is so crucial for startups.
It is, yeah.
Now I know WeTech Alliance offers various access to funding, but what are some of? Can you list off some of the programs just that you are currently running?
Yeah, so WeTech actually doesn't provide any funding, at least not on a normal basis. So what we do is a lot of help on the business model side of things. So advisory services, access to coaches and mentors, specifically on the advisory side. We've got some programs for employers and potential employees looking for work to help connect them a little bit better. And then, as you mentioned, we've got the event side, we've got the community-facing side, where we really bring people together and hope to get these entrepreneurs to sort of collide. In terms of programs that we run, we have kind of two flagship that we're on our docket right now. We have an annual program that is our Scale Up Tech Accelerator, and thankfully, we have a partnership with Libro that allows us to give a winner of that program every year a $20,000 cash prize. So they pitch for that, and they're able to achieve that, and then they have to put that money essentially towards their expansion plan. So that's kind of the way we do it. And then we have a program called Idea Fund that's a $30,000 matched funding opportunity. And so that's through a number of other partner regional innovation centers that we have that. That runs annually right now. We have a new cohort of that coming out hopefully early next year if funding comes through. And that provides individuals the opportunity to basically double their money. So if I'm putting money into a green or new technology that I really want to use to leverage and transform my business, instead of me putting that entire sort of project under my own volition, I'm going to use this money to help to kind of maximize that. So for every dollar I spend, the provincial government kicks in another, or sorry, federal government in this case kicks in another dollar, up to the tune of a $60,000 project, so $30,000 total. And so those are the only two cases right now where we have any sort of funding available. But that's more so on an outlier. Most of our programming is all about sort of expertise and connecting with mentorship.
So if somebody was like brand new to either the region or they just heard about WeTech Alliance for the first time, like how would they get started? Like what's that journey like for them?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a great program called Innovation Blueprints that my colleague Susanna Martins has started. And so Innovation Blueprint is essentially what you're describing is how do I learn about who WeTech is, what do they do, how do they work, and why do they exist? And then also, if I have an idea, how do I get started? How do I put a framework around it so that I can test it out in market before I'm spending all kinds of money investing in it to develop it out to fruition? And so this program kind of comes in. It's a one-day workshop. It's actually a couple hours long. And what it does is it really teaches you how to think about the problem statement that you're solving, how to look at the market and assess what kinds of competition there is out there, and then how to take those first steps and into action and turn your idea into something tangible. And so that would be kind of my first suggestion of where to go if you're looking to get involved with us. But we also have a number of events that come out all the time in the realm of sort of networking and community development. And so there's lots of stuff. If you are interested, you can head to www.wetech-alliance.com and /events for all of the information on that.
That's awesome. Like just the amount of resources that you're able to provide people at various different stages of where they're at as a business or in their journey. I think that's incredible, the support that you're providing to the region.
And to be honest, Chris, I was actually a member of or a client of WeTech, and at one point in time, I was able to access $3,000 to help when I owned a drone company to help a particular section of that. So I'm not only a proponent, I'm a client.
There you go.
We like to say here that even if there's a company that we're not able to work with, and we do have that scope, right? You have to be innovative. You have to have that ability to scale. If you're not within that scope, we always want to give you your next step. So even if we can't help, we have partners right across the region that are doing this work with entrepreneurs day in and day out. And so we want to make sure that we're pointing people in the right place. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to have this job for sure.
I'm curious with your title. So Director of Venture Services, what's a day in the life like for you? What are you doing there? What's your role?
It has never been the same twice, and it's evolved quite a bit. So when I first came on, I was doing most of the advisory services myself. So working with our startups kind of one-to-one directly. And then now we have a team, right? So we've got Susanna Martins, who's our other business advisor that works with me. And then we have a manager of programs that sort of oversees all of the client programs that we're running too. And so my day now looks very different. I get to interface with our community. I get to chat with people and talk about what we're doing because that's so important. I get to work with some of our government partners and our funders as well. And then also I'm still working with startups. So I've got my hand in about 15 to 20 startups at any given time, making sure that they're making the right connections inside and outside of the region to help them grow.
And I'm sure just like the level of fulfillment that you get from that is like phenomenal too. Like just to be part of the journey with the startup. Like you talked about the speed. I've worked for startups before. I've got many myself, where it's just like it's so fast and it's so fun. Just like the ride that you can be on. Like there's ups and downs, of course, but the speed is the big thing I think that you mentioned early on.
It's incredibly rewarding. We work with some of the most amazing entrepreneurs that I've ever met in my life. And you've got passion and you've got grit, and you've got folks that are so brilliant that really you're just kind of honored to be a fly on the wall and a small part in their journey, right? We don't, one thing that, in the language that we use at WETech, it's never, this is our client. It's always the region's client. We're just there to help them out.
And you know what, Chris? They just held the founders event, which is a great event because they bring in people who have been through the journey and have come out the other side successful. And they hold these events where new startups and founders of other companies can come and listen to the story and ask questions and experience some of that success and get some great ideas. I think that's phenomenal community support.
Thank you. Yeah. So we had Jake Carls, who's the CEO of Midday Squares. So he's the self-proclaimed Willy Wonka of Canada. And they've had such an incredible growth story. So we're really privileged to bring him down. But one thing that, one of the takeaways that I took away from it was just how much he talked about vulnerability and how he actually achieved a lot of his fundraising. I'll share this really quickly, is that so their company was quite small, started sort of in their house. His sister came to him and said, like, look, do you want to do this with me? We'll start this new business. We want to take down Hershey's. That was kind of their goal, right? And so they start this company. They were able to get a grant through the government in Quebec was where they started. And what they did was they were so authentic and real on social media that they wanted to essentially look at, okay, we don't even want to talk about making chocolate. We want to capture the journey of being entrepreneurs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so what they did was they started documenting that. That was like one of their first hires was a documentarian that would actually look at everything that we're doing and capture it in sort of real time. And so what happened was, Jake said, through the ability of his team to tell stories, they would go on LinkedIn and they would talk about not just, the wins, new customers, new opportunities, but failures, right? Like we may not have enough money to make it to the end of this month. This is going to be a problem if we can't fix this. And what happened was, as he continued to tell his story and be authentic, investors actually started flocking to him and saying, look, like I've been following you for 3 years. I love your story. I understand you're struggling right now. Do you need some extra capital? And so a lot of what they raised, actually all of what they've raised to this point, has been through that opportunity of just being vulnerable and being open. And that's something that I really took away. And I hope that all of our companies took away too, is it doesn't always have to be the sexy side of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of mental health effects that happen with being someone that's, constantly on the go and isolating yourself from sometimes friends and family in that process. And so to be able to talk about it openly and use that as a superpower, I think was just an incredible takeaway. So that was a great event. And we're looking forward to bringing that back next year with a new speaker as well.
That's phenomenal. I think it's a great point too. Like running a business, trying to build it from scratch and scale it, it is sometimes very lonely and there's a lot that goes into it and there's a lot of ups and downs and stuff. And so I think that's awesome. You have a speaker who can be authentically sharing those real stories.
And that's why it's great to have an organization like WETech where when you are struggling, when you are having those problems, there's somebody you can reach out to who has the connections, that can help you answer some of those questions. It's just really a great community service. It really is.
Now, speaking of questions, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to put you to the test here, Adam. We're going to throw some questions at you rapid fire style. I've got a mix of questions here. Some of them are off the wall. Some of them are a little bit of a tech feel to them as well for you. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. First thing that comes to your head here. First thing, one word that defines success for you.
One word that defines success for me: impact.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
What's your favorite hobby outside of work?
Biking.
What's an entrepreneur, or who's an entrepreneur that you admire?
Sure that I admire. I'm gonna say Amin Fidel, Cedar Valley.
What's your favorite season of the year?
Fall.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned in the past year?
Goals are important, but putting the hard work in is equal to that. Dream with your sleeves rolled up.
Nice. What's one app that you cannot live without?
Instagram.
Work from home, office, or hybrid? What's your preference?
I love being at the office and being sort of plugged into things.
What's your all-time favorite movie?
Ooh, City Slickers.
What's your favorite genre of music?
Top 40. I like everything. I'm very eclectic.
What's one word that describes your work ethic?
Relentless.
What is the number one characteristic that an entrepreneur needs to have to be successful, in your opinion?
Coachability.
I guess we already know the answer to this. What's your favorite social media platform?
Definitely Instagram. Yeah.
And then last question, what's one piece of advice that you would tell your younger self?
Ooh, it gets better. It always gets better. Just keep up.
Look at that. You flew through those. That was
There
quick.
you go. And I love that comment about the sleeve rolled up. I'm actually gonna put that on a t-shirt.
I was
that's
going to say
awesome.
that's a t-shirt
That's
saying
a t-shirt
right there.
comment. It really is. Absolutely.
I like that. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
So, with AI coming up, and I know that you guys have some new AI companies that you're working with. How do you see AI in the tech startup industry, and are you guys going to be using it at all with WETech? Are you going to be? Is there any technologies that you're going to be advancing?
Yeah, so we're always looking at our tech stack at WeTech, right? We've got close to 200 clients now in our portfolio, and it's just 2 advisors, and I'm not advising full time anymore. So we have a lot of tools that help us out. Using generative AI is something that we've played around with. I don't think we've found exact fit of where it really fits for us as of yet. We like to write things. We like to be personal in our approach to stuff. One way that I found that it can be really helpful is providing outlines for things. So if there's a blog that I want to write, and I know the idea's there, but I'm not sure exactly what sort of order to put it in. Sometimes I'll ask ChatGPT to sort of give me a framework if I wanted to have these key sort of ideas put together. So those things I find really helpful. Even things like, generate some questions for me that I can possibly use in my next sort of roundtable or my next fireside chat with the speaker. Those types of things that have been really helpful too. I think that everything is going to really transform over the next few years, thanks to AI. And I think there's a lot of hope that comes along with that. I know that there's a lot of stipulations and a lot of things that we still don't know yet in terms of how it's going to affect us, in the impact of jobs, those types of things. But I think the benefit is there, and being scared of it is one way to kind of get left behind. And so what we're seeing is this uptake in these types of entrepreneurs that are using AI to build sort of new platforms. And what I would say there, and one of the cautions that I've seen throughout the industry, is that be careful what you're building your business on top of. And that goes with anything. But now that we're seeing, how prevalent cybersecurity threats are and what that looks like sort of in the world, if you're building something that's on an underlying technology that you don't have control over, it may not be the most, you may not have longevity there potentially, right? And so really taking a look at who you're partnering with in terms of those partners that you're building in for AI, and making sure that they're really sort of solid and that they're going to be around to stand the test of time, because your business should as well. And so that's just kind of a comment there. But I think, this world of AI and generative AI, we're at its infancy, and it's going to continue to get better. And I really hope that we continue talking about it in a really public way, because that's how you start to develop out those policies that we need in order to make sure that it's safe too.
I think that's a great point about when you talk about like building out your business, and then I'll use the words I say all the time, like don't go all in on it really, and where you're like you're on just one particular tool and that's it for around your business, because they're changing all the time. There's new tools that are coming out. There's better ones. There's lots of different options that are out there, so it's figuring out what works for you. But also, I think having that element of control that you talked about is so critical.
And the
For
thing
sure.
with AI is, I mean, AI as it develops is going to help to develop more AI systems. So yes, it's gonna the changes are gonna happen faster and faster.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I also think too, I know like I'm a tech guy, right? But there's something to be said for analog and knowing how to do things within your business if you have no tech tools whatsoever. And I think about, the recent cyber attack that we had on our health system, where you have these hospitals that were heavily reliant on systems that were in the cloud or technological or digital in some way, shape, or form. And what happened was it was the nurses that have been there for 30 plus years that know the old way of doing things. They're who are getting those folks through right now. And so leaning back on analog and understanding the way things work, I think is so important because sometimes that technology is not there, right? So always having kind of that backup of knowing how to do things on your own if the tech isn't available to you.
Are you finding that like there are like is it surprising that there are companies who are still coming to you and like they haven't really explored AI, or are you finding that most are like they've actually kind of dabbled in some respects?
I think most people understand AI. We work with companies across sort of every industry and sector, right? And so there's some industries and sectors they're not there yet. They don't need AI in the same way that some others do. But I think what you're going to see is the continuous building of these custom tools that'll start to help out sort of niche roles. And so if you're not using AI yet, there's probably an AI system out there that'll help you do your job a little bit faster. But I would say like look at it as a complement to what you already do. Build your skills continuously as a human being, and don't lean too heavy on any sort of technological tool that may not be there or might be, depending on what the future
yeah,
holds.
absolutely. And it doesn't just go for AI. That's basically any particular, technology. I agree with
Yeah,
you on that. I
absolutely.
mean, if you throw all your eggs into one basket, you can end up in a problem for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yeah.
So in terms of like next steps there, so you said that you've got the website. Can you say the website again so people who want to kind of follow along with WeTech Alliance and maybe
Yeah.
be able to
So
jump in?
yeah, WeTech-Alliance.com is the website. And so all of our information is there. We have 2 upcoming events if you're interested, or actually 3 technically. So the first is Innovation Outpost, and that's happening at the Chilled Cork. So if you're familiar with the daycare network here in Windsor, Essex, there's an app called Hi Mama that's used quite frequently. We're going to be talking with the founder for a founders night there. So he's from Blenheim, and we're going to chat about his journey through scale. They've just sort of really scaled their app as well, and it's being used all over the country now and actually all over the continent. And so we'll have a chat with him, and that's on November 28th at Chilled Cork. And so information for that is available on the website. And then if you're in tech and you're in the tech space as a worker and you're looking for jobs, you're looking for opportunities to grow yourself in your profession, we have a program called Tech Connect Thursdays that we run on a regular basis. And so upcoming on December 7th is a Tech Connect Thursday with Jason Pomerleau, who's the CEO and president of Elevate Web Studio. And so he's going to be talking about some of the challenges they've had over the last little bit, finding really good talent, and also what they look for, what good culture fit looks like, and kind of, what are the highlights in a developer that they're looking for to bring onto their team. So if you're trying to grow your tech career, that's a really great place to start. And we've got lots of resources for folks that are not necessarily entrepreneurs, but are in the tech space and want to know more about how to get connected to the community.
And if somebody wanted to follow you, and it sounds like Instagram might be the best channel to track you down to.
Yeah, so I have channels across sort of all the social media platforms, but AC in YQG is my handle for all of them on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and I'd be happy to connect with anybody.
That's awesome. Adam, thank you so
Fantastic.
much for being on the show today, sharing more about what WeTech Alliance is doing. Again, just tremendous the support that it's providing to the companies in this region, and we just can't thank you enough for all that's happening with the organization and just again supporting entrepreneurs. Dave and I are big fans of entrepreneurs in general, as serial entrepreneurs ourselves. So
Yeah.
this is awesome what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much. And honestly, before I leave, I want to turn this around because you're the ones that are doing this from the grassroots. You guys have started so many different initiatives. You brought together entrepreneurs in our community in really unique and really surprising ways that I have not seen before. And that's what's needed, right? Organizations like WeTech Alliance are important and we play a wonderful role. But in order to really grow entrepreneurial culture in a community, it has to be led by entrepreneurs first. And you guys are doing that. Your boots on the ground to do that. So thank you. And please keep it up because I'm a big fan as well. And I continue to follow along.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam.
Fantastic, Adam. Thank you
Absolutely.
for coming.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Take care.